Hello, everyone, and welcome to Small Cap Spotlight. I'm Mubina Kapasi, and as you know, this is the platform where we bring to you interesting companies, especially in the small cap space, tell you a bit about their business. And today we have with us a company in the agrotech space that has recently undergone a transformation in the name and is on the anvil of being listed. I have with me the managing director of SSMD Agrotech Limited, Mr. Ishu Munjal. Thank you so much, Mr. Munjal, for joining us. I think to begin with, I'd like you to introduce SSMD Agrotech India to our viewers. There's been this
Yep.
transition from Shri Dhanlakshmi Flour Mills to, of course, SSMD. I'd like to know a little bit about the company, the origins, the key milestones that the company has been through recently.
Yeah. So I'm Ishu Munjal, being a managing director at the company, SSMD Agrotech India Limited from the House of Manohar Group. And the journey started a long time back in the year 1980 from a small trading shop in Old Delhi and started by my grandfather and father. And that shop, in a very short span of time, got famous by the name of Manohar Chanewala, as we were the first to introduce that kind of a product. Then I joined the business in the year 2016 post completion of my BTech in Information and Technologies. And during the early years at the family office, I was trying to understand the business at the ground level. I was interacting a lot with the retailers and the distributors already in our network. And then I realized there are a lot of loopholes in the existing business, as the business was purely a trading business of agro food products. And also during the early years, I was exploring a lot of opportunities in the online grocery space, and I even launched a startup by the name of Grossmart. But we did not float that idea ahead in the market, as we couldn't find any kind of a differentiating factor other than grofers and big basket at that time. Then in the year 2018, post spending like 2.5 years at the family office and and trying to understand the business economics, I thought of transitioning the business to manufacturing and shifting the business from being purely trading business to a manufacturing business as well. And I set up the first manufacturing facility in the year 2018, where we started manufacturing gram flour with very little knowledge about manufacturing and from a very small unit. And but by God's grace, in a very short span of time, we got very good response from the market, and we had to close that first unit and shift to a bigger unit in the year 2019. Then in the year 2021, we set up another manufacturing facility and we started manufacturing gram chana dal, which is a major raw material for which we used to procure from outside for the manufacturing of gram flour. Followed by in the year 2022, we set up the second manufacturing facility and we launched another brand by the name of Super SS, and we started manufacturing puffed rice and ramdana. And proud to say that today we hold 90% market capacity in that space in those products, with we being the only producer of Ramdana in the Delhi NCR market. And then in the year 2023, we set up the third manufacturing facility for the company. And that manufacturing facility, we started manufacturing further value added products like idli rava, rice powder, chana sattu. And proud to say that today the company has a portfolio of more than 45 SKUs. And we are covering the entire northern India market through a distributor led model, as well as we have direct institutional customers. Also, in the year 2024, we got an in principle approval of a $10 million investment in a company, and that money was basically coming in the form of an FDI through CCD. But we did not close that idea ahead, that round ahead, because we and the investors could not get onto a common term sheet. Then in the early 2025, we launched the D2C dark store model for the company. It is one of a kind dark store model in which we set up micro manufacturing facilities, and we started manufacturing and delivering fresh flour, oil, and spices to the customers in a time span of 10 to 15 minutes. So we combine the all hyped, quick commerce with freshness. So that gained a lot of attraction for the company. And the IPO that we are getting out is of 34 crore rupees, and of which 13 crores is roughly will be utilized for the working capital requirement of the company, and 6.83 crores would be required to pay off the company's debt, and 2 crores will be put into the setting up of 16 more such micro manufacturing facilities which I just mentioned, and 1 crore would be put into the setting up of a namkeen manufacturing facility. So the company is expanding its portfolio and diversifying into different categories by the setting up of these manufacturing plants, and and willing to become a household name under the House of Manohar umbrella. We have four particular brands. One is Manohar Agro, then Super SS, then Shri Dhanlakshmi, and then Delhi Special. Also, the company has a lot of future milestones to achieve and a future roadmap, working of which has already been started in the companies, which is a part of the company's future roadmap thing. Yeah, so this is a small story about us, where we come from and what we are doing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And Mr. Munjal, very interesting micro manufacturing stores. Now, here's where I'm wondering, why would you not just do what the other FMCG players do, and that is supply to the dark stores from where, your quick commerce distributors would just pick up and sell? Why manufacture at these locations? Because I imagine that's a cost. I'm sure that considering you're selling to the consumer directly, your margins will be very good. But I'm wondering,
Good. Yeah.
why manufacture these micro, at this micro level?
See, a lot of today, people have become a lot conscious about, consuming healthy food products, and they are willing to spend a handsome amount in procuring that kind of a product, right? If I talk about an example, like you mentioned that, you ordered any kind of a particular brand's atta from, Zepto or Blinkit. So that is something which is produced in the manufacturing facility, I guess, let's just say 1 month back, then brought down to the, company's warehouse, from there brought down to the Zepto's mother warehouse, from there brought down to the Zeptos or Blinkits, dark store, and then given to the customers, right? The idea behind, launching these micro manufacturing facilities is to deliver fresh produce to the customers. As you know, a lot of people have become a lot about, aware about the freshness that they want to eat, and they're willing to spend amount on it. So this is the whole story about delivering freshness in quick time.
So you are charging a bit of a premium for this compared to perhaps the other manufacturers?
We don't have any kind of a premium over the MRP covering these costs, because there's a reason being, when we are dealing with players like Zepto and Blinkit, so there's a lot of margin sharing with these players. When we are setting up our own micro manufacturing facilities and dealing with the customers directly
So
through a
sorry, if
D2C
I could
model.
just interject, what I meant is that would you say that your product then is a bit more expensive than perhaps the other uh, in your segment? That's what I meant because you're
Slight
providing that
expensive,
freshness.
but yeah, a slight expensive, but not that expensive. I guess if I talk about a single product of, let's just say, atta, which you might procure from a nearby atta chakki at a price of, like, just 50 rupees per kg. So we'll be giving it at somewhere between 55 rupees per kg, because the traditional way of delivering that product has been changed and has been modernized through our micro manufacturing facilities. And that kind of attractive packaging and then good quality in a quick commerce time adds some value to the pricing as well, but not just a slight change and an increase in the price segment, but not very much.
No, of course. And I think the fact that you are providing this sort of facility, and you're right, the customers are also becoming more health conscious. And if you're providing this kind of a proposition, I'm sure there are customers who would be interested in getting that freshly grounded product
Got
to
a
their
very good
house.
response from the pilot store that we recently launched. We started the operations in April 2025 from a residential society based in Ghaziabad. And we targeted that, each store would be adding up a top line of 4 to 5 lakh rupees as part of the revenue on monthly basis. And just in 6 months of operations, we've already touched that figure. And, seeing the repeat orders that we are getting instills a kind of a confidence that, there has been some acceptance created for our product. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay, superb. All right. We love to hear about the management's own personal journey. This is, of course, a business that is a couple of generations down the line. I want to know what inspired you to take on the leadership of SSMD Agrotech. I think you brought on a bunch of different initiatives, made the company more of a foods business, if I could call it that, than, your agro or flour, etc. You've constantly gone up the value chain in what you're providing. But yeah, I'd just like to know a little bit about your own background and how did your career come to this point where you're now the MD of SSMD?
So the journey when started, I started working at the last year of my engineering, and I was exploring opportunities to do something in the startup space. Because of which, I even launched that startup by the name of Grossmart, which was into the online grocery space. But that moment, Big Basket was working in the warehousing model, and then Grofers was working into the hyperlocal model, and I couldn't find any kind of a differentiating factor at that time. Then, just to pass on to the business and to take the responsibility with very less idea and very less future planning, I got into the manufacturing space. But even during the initial time, I was still very much directed and interested towards launching a startup. And one instance happened in my life when I was about to launch a startup in the space of bike taxis, which, like, players like Rapido and Porter are doing. And that was in the year 2016, very the first year I joined the business. Then I went to all the authorities, asked them for some licensing so that bikes can be used as taxis, because there's no such norm and rule defined where bikes can be used as taxis, right? But I couldn't get any kind of a clarification and justification, and I did not take that idea ahead. Then in the year 2019, Rapido, Blinkit launched themselves into the same space without considering about the government norms and all. And today it's a billion-dollar company. And then I had that kind of a feeling of a regret, that and then that phrase which shouts that it's better to try than to regret later on, right? So that is something which gave me a lot of confidence, as well as initially I regretted a lot that I did not even try. Then at that moment of time, I got this thing that whatever idea I have in my mind, I have to give it a shot, I have to give it a try. And then sensibility was that to carry forward the family business, because have some kind of a knowledge space and then knowledge sharing by our elders to get into the right direction. And that is how I kept on evolving different ideas and kept on actually bringing them into action. And by God's grace, we put in the management put into the lot of efforts and hard work, and touch wood, we are here. And the journey has just started, I would say. Like Piyush Bansal just mentioned on the listing day of his lens card that this is day zero. So do I say that post the listing on the listing day of our company, it will be the day zero. It will just the show will just begin on that day. Yeah.
No, no, very true. I mean, and it's interesting to know and hear about all the ventures that you were as well involved with in the past. Excuse me. Could you share a bit about your time in SSMD Agrotech? Like I said, you've done a lot to increase the product portfolio, and you're constantly going to keep doing. I want to know what are the day-to-day challenges you do tend to come across, because it's a food business. I'm sure things like hygiene, etc., are very important. At the same time, it's very, very agri dependent. So seasonality, I'm sure, plays a big role. And with the kind of climate change we are seeing, I'm sure that's a vagary that you have to deal with. I want to know a little bit about these challenges you tend to face and how do you tackle them.
See, I won't call our brand a national brand, right? We call ourselves as regional players, giving a tough competition to the to the national players. And when we started working, to push our product and brand into the market, which is new, we have to create a kind of an acceptance among the retailers and the distributors. So the company has been focusing on a very straight strategy that work on very low margins initially when you're pushing a product or a brand in the market, give the best of the quality, and once a kind of an acceptance is created, and brand is recalled and the product is recalled among the distributors and the retailers network, automatically the company will be able to increase onto the margins. And that strategy has been a very successful strategy from the company from from the very starting. Challenges like pushing a new brand into the market and then introducing a different kind of a product, or working on to the best of the quality, understanding the seasonality like you mentioned, but being working into the same industry from last 10 years, and with the guidance of our elders who has been in the industry from a longer time than my personal experience. So we have got that kind of a experience about when to procure the raw material, when to release the inventory, when is the right time to process it, and how much time we need to hold the inventory, and when to release it in the market. So these are something which on a daily basis, I would say every day is a new learning day for us. And over the time, we kind of experience different challenges, and then the fun is to keep finding solution to it. If what my personal thing is, like if I feel like that everything is going very easy and handy, I feel like something is missing there. If some problems and hurdles are there on the day-to-day business operations and everything, then I'm on toes, and then I'm excited to keep working towards finding a solution to it. So I guess it's a part and parcel, and I take it very positively. These kind of hurdles and the challenges that keep arising out of any particular business operations, in be it in the operation space, be it in the manufacturing space, being a fully compliant company, being in the agricultural sector, delivering food to the people, working on to make sure that the food that we are delivering and the products that we are delivering are the best of the qualities. So, a system put in together at the very initial stage, at the nascent stage, helps you tackle all these problems. But obviously, small problems and, hurdles keep arising. But the management and your job is to, keep finding a solution for it and keep remain excited for, new ventures and new opportunities to explore. Yeah.
Could you walk us through your entire procurement process? Because I'm sure you're dependent on farmers. Farmers, in turn, are also impacted by government policy, something like MSP. They are impacted by climate. Unseasonal rains, etc., have almost become like a seasonal. It's become like a norm, honestly. Unseasonal rains, etc. So I just want to hear a little bit on how procurement goes by for you.
So, as per the rules and regulations and the norms of procuring raw material for any kind of a miller, we are not allowed to procure directly from the farmers. So the farmer has to go out to a mandi, which is situated nearby his farm and his crop area, right? And he has to sell it to a broker, and then there's a broker involved in between whom we are directly dealing with, and then we procure it. So different products that we are manufacturing, for that we have to procure different raw materials. Let's just say, like for the manufacturing of chana dal, the chana is procured from mandis based in Rajasthan and then Andhra and then Maharashtra. Then the puffed rice that we manufacture, for that rice is procured from direct millers that we have, that the company and the management is direct in contact with them, based in West Bengal and Chhattisgarh. Then the ramdana that we procure is based on a raw material that is procured from Palanpur, Gujarat. So obviously seasonality affects, but there's never a stoppage in the supply chain. Seasonality and all kind of weather conditions which worsens the crop and all affects the overall pricing for the crop and the raw material. But we have a steady control, and in a network of a huge amount of millers and brokers involved in between, and it creates a kind of a smooth procurement process for us.
Now, you are a part of the House of Manohar, and there are several products and brands under that. So I just want to understand the structure, especially when, let's say, you're launching a new brand. How is it? Where is it housed? What's the corporate structure like? If you could share some light on that.
See, we tap into different geographical locations. We keep interacting with the already existing distributor network. We try to keep understanding their requirements, and our team keeps on, doing an R&D in the space, that what kind of a product can be launched into the market. Like recently, we are exploring space into a pet bottle drink. Which can be a healthy drink. If we talk about pet bottle drinks, which are very highlighted these days, somewhat very much similar to Lahori Jeera. But there are a lot of products in the market. Just say there's a product by the name of Gond Katira. I am not sure about whether you are aware or the audience is aware about, but it has a lot of health benefits for the gut. And in China, in the US, and Gond Katira has been also been written in the Ayurveda as a very healthy product. So the company is exploring and looking for opportunities to launch a product or a drink, a healthy drink, basically a fizzy drink as well, using Gond Katira as a central project. So we keep interacting with the at the ground level, at the retailers, counters, with the customers, directly with the retailers or with the distributors, and keep exploring for what the market requires. And then once feedback comes from the market, then we start our work, and then launch a brand or a product out in the market. Yeah. So the higher level of interaction that we do on daily basis results in working our mind and doing the R&D work to explore different categories and products.
Now, of course, like you mentioned, the IPO is going to be used for some the dark stores, the micro manufacturing facilities. Plus, I think there's also investments, the purchase of machineries and factories for the namkeen plant. So I just want to know that what's your rough revenue mix like right now? Because there are clearly very diversified sources of revenues and products. And post all of these investments, what's the mix going to look like now? Because I imagine the mix is slowly moving towards those products that carry a higher margin for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the FY25, FY24, yeah, we closed at a top line of 99 crores, and this year we'll be closing at a top line of 120 to 130 crores. with the projection of closing the FY28 would be somewhere between 250 to 300 crores. All these figures are given with a very conservative approach. Working into the D2C space attracts a margin of somewhere between 15 to 20%. Then the namkeen industry that the company is getting into would be attracting somewhere between 10 to 15% of PAT margins, and the already existing business would be attracting somewhere between 5 to 10% of profit margins. The company is also exploring to and are in soft talks to in a joint venture to set up a bottling plant in Delhi, and we'll be starting with the import of palm oil and soybean oil. Palm oil and soybean oil would be adding up a lot of revenue to the company, but the industry works on a profit margins of 4 to 5%. So, in a cumulative way, if I talk about, the company's decision to diversify into different products and category is to keep on increasing the company's overall revenue as well as the bottom line. So, working into different spaces, being in the working out with products which is higher margin as well as lower margins. So lower margin attracting the company with a lot of higher revenue. The higher PAT margin product is attracting higher profit for the company. So in a just consolidated way, the company's strategy to diversify into different products and categories will overall result in increasing top line as well as bottom line.
All right, super. And we spoke about product portfolio, but what about any plans to, go and expand to more geographies within India, perhaps even outside India?
There's a lot of scope in the already existing geographical locations that the company is dealing in. Like I told you that, company is working in the entire northern India market. And I would say in the northern India market, the Delhi, Punjab, UP, Haryana, Uttarakhand, Himachal market is something which still has 50% more, scope to put our geographical, or expand our geographical distributor network among. And post, once we are done and simultaneously, we are working on to start with the import business. We are also interested in opening up exports and looking for further opportunities and tapping into different geographical locations, not just based in India, but outside India as well.
Okay, super. I want to hear about competition from you. I know you briefly mentioned it, but look, the fact is FMCG is very competitive. The barriers to entry are very low. I just want to know your thoughts on competition and what do you think of it? How are you trying to give yourself an edge?
See, I always take competition with a positive approach. I would simply say रोटी कपड़ा मकान एक ऐसी चीजें है जिसकी डिमांड बढ़नी है. Also, we need to understand this thing that, if so many people and, HNIs are wanting to get into this space, if they are interested, then there's some scope for it, right? If somebody is not willing to put their money in this industry, then, there's no reason behind it, right? But if so many people are get wanting to get into this industry, that then the size is increasing, the consumption is increasing, and the population is increasing. So I take the more amount of people would be getting into it, the already existing players would be forced to do better deliveries, right? It will be allowing and forcing them to, get on to more better norms and to serve better of the quality to face of existing competition. So, in an overall thing, I take the confidence in this thing that, the existing players, if faced by further competition from, new entrants, it will add up more value to the existing players. And I take it a very positively. Yeah.
Okay, just a last question. We love to hear a little bit about the team at SSMD Agrotech, and especially perhaps you've mentioned you've got some ambitions for SSMD. I would like to know who in your team, especially in the top leadership, is helping you achieve those ambitions.
Nothing would have been possible. The list can be a very lengthy one. If I'll start naming them, I've already, started writing my speech for the listing there, and I've made sure that, I cover all those people. It's not a one-man show, it's not a picture or a movie going around where, one hero is fighting with all the villains alone. It's a journey that we have had together, and we are attracting more talent into the company. And the company's auditor, Mr. Prashant, and then company compliance officer, Mr. Rajesh, their strictness on me to make sure that the company is fully compliant and everything is done on time is very much required. Because, a promoter has a lot of things to do. But if you have the right people put in the right place, then the overall journey becomes a little smooth. A promoter making sure that TDS and GST rights and the auditing thing. By the same time, he has to also make sure the day-to-day operations are run in a very systematic way. So altogether, a promoter can't manage everything. So the top management has been the major part in this journey, and I don't think so that it would have been possible without them.
All right, super. It was so great hearing you out. And we wish you all the very best for your
Thank you.
IPO and for all the aspirations you have for SSMD.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, that of course was the management of SSMD Agro. Please remember, this is simply a platform to communicate and share the story of individual companies, not an investment recommendation. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to Small Cap Spotlight.